This video was made possible thanks to the Swayinghill Drumcircle. Hey folks, Teddy from Swayinghill here. I hope you're doing well, and welcome to the first video of the Swayinghill Snare Shelf, where on the first Friday of each month, I'll feature a quick demo of one of the snare drums that's currently in the Swayinghill Snare Library and its current tuning. On this episode, I'm going to start with one of my all-rounder snare drums, a snare named Brown Sugar from Hendrix drums. Shout out to the homie Curtis Lyons for the name. So what you're going to hear is straight from the mics to a Focusrite Sapphire Pro 40 audio interface with an Audient ASP800 connected via ADAT with no EQ or compression. The mics that I use will be in the description below. Also, since we're talking about snare drums, what snare drum would you like to own or add to your collection? Go ahead, leave a comment below.
One more thing.
If you dig the idea of this series, please go ahead and click like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of videos just like this one. I mean, to be honest, I would. I got 16 snares to share with y'all. With all that said, once the demo is done, please stick around. I pretty much explain the specs and nerd out and things like that. So, yeah, let's get started. Well, there you have it, Brown Sugar from Hendrix drums. I appreciate you tolerating my playing to hear the amazing tone this snare produces. Like, have you ever looked at a piece of gear you own and be like, there's no way this is mine? Yeah, that's me. Even 6 years later, I'm like, I can't believe I have a custom snare. Like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Anyways, let's nerd out and talk shop. I've been in touch with Hendrix drums since 2012 and saved up my money to purchase Brown Sugar around March of 2014 around my birthday, making the snare my first ever custom built drum, and it has traveled the world with me. From my very first out of country gig in Berlin, Germany, to my time performing on cruise ships from 2016 to 2018. Now, let's talk about the specs. It's a walnut stave shell, and the two stripes are maple inlays. The hardware, like the hoops and the lugs here, is a satin chrome finish, excluding the throw-off and butt of the snare.
He touched the butt.
I said butt. Anyways, the drum heads I have on this snare is a Remo Vintage Ambassador on the batter side with a small True Tone dampener on the very edge of the head, and a Remo Ambassador snare Hazy on the resonant side. This snare, as I mentioned, is a stave constructed drum, meaning it's not your average snare, as most wood snares are ply constructed. But don't worry, if you don't know what stave construction or ply construction is, I'll post links below to the Hendrix drum website explaining what their approach is to building a stave drum, as well as videos to other drum makers that build stave drums. When I usually buy snare drums, I usually look for versatility and tuning range, and if it doesn't have that, I look for different quirks that it might fit in musically. But in Brown Sugar's case here, it's an all-rounder, as I've mentioned earlier. The way I would describe its sound is warm, but a bit darker than maple, and it's super crisp. It's usually perfect for many musical situations and venues. I can tune this drum high, low, or in between. Plus it features the Hendrix drum sleeve washers, tight screw tension rods, S-hoops, and a Dunnett R7 3-position throw-off. And it comes with Fat Cat dual adjustable snare wires. If you really think about it, with all of that combined, it's kind of the Captain Planet of snare drums.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet! God Planet!
Now, also, I mentioned earlier that it's a stave drum. If you look at pictures of other stave drums are usually really, really thick. And if you listen to other stave drums, or if you've played on a stave drum, it's usually limited in tuning range because it's so thick. This snare here is a thin constructed stave shell, plus its bearing edges are baseball bat bearing edges. So when it's tuned low, it growls. It's really throaty. You know, it sounds really, really great. But I'm not going to show you the low tuning range, so if you want to hear it in a low tuning range, leave a comment below and tell me that you want to hear more of the snare drum. Well, it seems that we're at the end of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out and letting me nerd out. I think the next Swayinghill snare shelf video will be out on August 28th for my Drumcircle over Patreon and September 4th for everybody on YouTube. With all that said, I'm out, and here's Brown Sugar in a musical context. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. Peace.